Very good. Okay, folks, so this is very challenging, as you know, Jung is scary in terms of how many topics he deals with during each of his presentations. It's just incredible. So what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to first, give me just a second here. So, all right. Joe, I'm going to leave letting in of people to you.
Okay.
On this one. Okay. Okay. So let me go ahead and mute everybody. Okay. Very good. All right. So we're talking about stages of life. How are we going to talk about it? I'm going to draw it. So let me start with this. I'm going to put a line here. This is too, okay, give me a second here. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Okay. Okay, so here we're going to be talking about stages. This is what we're going to be talking about, stages of life. Now, I'm going to approach it by looking at the problem. If you look at what the entire essay of Jung is talking about the problems of stages of life, okay? So on one side, we are going to be talking about the problem, okay? At the same time, Jung actually has solutions for it, but he has not fully explicated the solutions here. The solutions are there elsewhere, okay? But it's not fair to just leave the problem as problem. It's much better to talk about what are the possible solutions. So I'm going to be talking about the solutions of it on this side, okay? So this is going to be solution. What is the solution to the problem on this side? Now, I'm going to move both of these gentlemen here, and I'm going to make this just a second here. Okay, I think this is good. Let me see if I can do it like this. And I'm going to move this here so it gives me more space. All right, so we've got the stages, which is the topic. This is the topic that we're studying, okay? And we're going to look at the problem of stages of life, and we're going to look at solutions. Now, Jung is very clear. There are two sets of problems. There are problems connected with the first stage of life. This is first half of life, and problems connected with second half of life, okay? Now, for solutions, I'm going to go to Sullivan because he, I think, in the most concise way, proposes a solution, which actually, when you take in all of Jung, he's thinking along the same directions. And I will tell you later on that there are actually two versions of Jung's solution to the problem that we have already looked at these meetups, okay? So the way in which this part, I see it worked out as far as the solution goes, there are two parts. One is here and one is here. Don't like the shape of this. So this one leads to a solution like this, and there is a solution which is like this on this side. Okay, these are the two parts. Here, Sullivan starts by restating the problem. One of the key ideas of Sullivan is that when you state the problem, the solution just presents itself. So you have to restate the problem of stages of life. So that's going to be the first step. And secondly, he's going to talk about the solution. Okay, so this is the structure of the presentation at this level. Now, let me just go ahead and look at my notes here. All right. Now the first half of life, Sullivan says, is divided into two parts. One is the childhood, and second one is the youth. So this is the childhood. I'll just call it child. And this is called youth. And the second part, second half of life, has two parts to it. One is the middle age. Okay. And the second one is, I'm just going to call it the end of life. Okay. Let's make this a little smaller, so I'll have more space to draw it out. All right. So this is the second level. Now let's look at the second level from Sullivan's perspective. So the problem, so let me just state out, he's saying that there are three parts of the problem. There are three parts. And you know what? Let me just color it up a little bit. So this part, let's call it green. So this is all green, right? And including this one, I won't draw everything, but I think we have to get the colors right. These are the consequences. And on this side are all the roots. So I'm going to use this color for it. Okay, so this is the root of the problem, which will give you the solution to it. So now, in terms of problem, Sullivan is saying there are three parts. Okay, and in terms of solution, also there are three parts. 1, 2, 3. This is not a good shape. All right. So let's look at the Sullivan part first. Now, why am I looking at Sullivan part first? Because it is very brief and it in principle offers solution to every problem, all of these problems that Jung is talking about. And it happens to be the same solution. The thrust of the solution is the same that Jung talks about through the rest of his work. He just hints about it here. All right. So I'm going to give you, instead of keeping you in suspense for solution, I'm going to give you the solution. Then I'm going to state out the problem in great amount of detail. I'm going to put more leaves here to describe the problem in detail as Jung presents it, and then again apply the solution to it. Okay, so this 3-step process. So let's look at Sullivan. What is the problem? What is the problem of human existence? Remember, we are looking at this particular work in the context of the book, The Modern Man in Search of His Soul. We just looked at the spiritual problem for modern man. Stages of life is just one manifestation of that. So let's keep focused on that, because that's going to offer solution to stages of problem. Here is the key statement of the problem by Sullivan. This is from his autobiography. He says, life began to break in upon him. A continuous breaking in from the outside and breaking out from the inside was to shape his destiny. Okay? So life began to break in upon him. A continuous breaking in from the outside and breaking out from the inside was to shape his destiny. So there are three parts of the problem. One is there is break in. Second is break out. And third is continuous. This is not one time, this does not happen. This is continuous. Hour to hour, day to day, minute to minute, second to second. It's a continuous breaking in from outside and breaking out from inside. This is what he formulated, again, using Jung's ideas. This is when he formulated it, when he was a child. When he was in his youth, he came up with a solution which we are about to talk about here. He spent his middle life as an architect implementing that throughout his life. And he spent end of his life writing it up. So all the books that we have of him are there. Okay, so that is how he implemented it. What is the solution? Solution that he came to, his autobiography is called Autobiography of an Idea. And this is the idea that it is referring to. It says, form ever follows function. Form ever follows function. So there are three things here. One is there is function. Second, there is form. And third, there is follows. So what he's saying, this process of breaking in from outside and breaking out from inside is the function of human being. It's like breathing in and breathing out. You know, I was reading Julian Jaynes, and he points out the word psyche, its root, I think it's called psychein in Greek, actually meant breath, which was transformed to refer as a metaphor to what goes on inside us. So it's important that breathing, you just don't just breathe in for a long time, for 18 years, and then decide to exhale. You can't wait to exhale for that long. So the process of breathing in and breathing out is crucial. Also note the word break. It's saying break in. That means something new outside. You're confronting something new that you did not know. It's going to surprise you. That is going to shake you up. That's what breaking in is about. This is a core part of Jung's philosophy. You know, in the filth it will be found. You have to confront your shadow. You have to look when you feel uncomfortable, not turn away. So breaking in from the outside. Again, it is breakout, break. It is never easy to have the courage. So breaking in from outside using serenity prayer, breaking in, letting outside break in is the acceptance of what is, what you can't change. Courage to change the things you can is the courage to break out from the inside out. And wisdom is to do that all the time. Both these things all the time. That is the function. Form is how you modify things in order to implement the function. It could be your relationships to other people, words that you use, your emotions, your habits, all of those are forms. and follows. That means the form has to follow the function. This process of breaking in and breaking out, outside coming in, inside going out, is the function, is what human being is about, human consciousness is about. Everything else is forms. If you hold on to forms, long after they have stopped serving their function, they are going to stifle the function and kill it. The same form which served a function at one point, when the function changes, no longer serves. It's going to hurt you. Wishing to go back to the forms is attachment to forms. It is refusal to accept the function. So that is the solution, okay? Now we are going to work on, look at the problem. All right, the first part, the childhood. The childhood he describes in many ways. So I'm going to use about 5 different things here. So let's go like this. So he's saying several things about childhood. These are the things he says about childhood. Oh, I have not yet put them down. Okay. So it is using instinct. During the child is using instinct. So now I'm going to just flat out describe what Jung says in this chapter. Okay. And then I will make some comments and I'll relate the roots to the trunk. And then I will briefly talk about various connections we have explored in our meetups, 52 Living Ideas meetups, with various theories connected to all of these leaves. Okay, so now we're going to the leaves. So there is instinct. This is the original idea of paradise, being in the womb, completely safe. This is, okay, I can't read this, okay. You're completely enveloped by family. And there are a couple other things. Okay, I'm just going to keep it aside. The youth is far more complex because that's where he's saying that there are essentially, that's a much more substantial branch. What he has to say about childhood is relatively small. So it's all of this. So I will have to use some branches. I'm sorry. So there are 3 main branches. This is 1. This is 2. Not well done. This is 2. And this is 3. Okay. So one of the greatest points that he makes is the problem. He calls it the problem of consciousness. Okay. And there I want to highlight 5 different things. So now I can go to leaves again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I don't like the shape of these leaves. I'm going to make them similar to it so it looks like one tree. So I'm going to go like this, like this, like this, like this. This is by far the most profound point he makes. So first, he's saying that this is where, this is after, this is actually related to puberty. So I'm going to put this as this. This is saying it starts with puberty. Okay. He's saying that this is all about the child now adjusting to the outside. It is full of conflict between inner and outer. There is a tension that develops. This is the price of civilization. Before civilization, in the cultures like tribal cultures, you would never have this issue. It is full of uncertainty. So you can see the contrast here between this child phrase where everything is certain, everything is comfortable, it's paradise, you're enveloped by the family, to this part where you're suddenly out there, you're full of uncertainty, there are all kinds of conflicts going on, all kinds of tension, and this is all about interacting with people at large. The other branch here is regression. Okay, and this third branch here is, I'm calling it place. So why do you have to actually do this? Okay, and he talks at length about that. What you have to do is that you're adjusting. I'm going to put 3 or 4 things here. What you're doing is that you're finding your place. So you are, establishing yourself in the society during this time. Okay, you are achieving success. You are adjusting to the society. You have to give up something. You're giving up something. Renunciation, some core part of yourself. You're making a compromise. So here in this branch, right? In this branch, he is now describing the social part. Here in this branch, he was talking about internal consequences. Here he's talking about the external consequences. All right. Now, there are people who refuse to do that. And they regress back. So they regress back they cling. This is clinging. They cling back to childhood. They continue on inertia. And they pull back. Okay, so there is a regression that is possible. So this is about the youth. Now, what happens in the middle age? Now, in the middle age, let me see here. There is regress. Okay. What he's saying is that by middle age, again, I'm going to do 2 branches here. Which direction should I put them? Okay, I'm going to put them, one going this way and one going out like that. Okay. He's saying, really, this is an opportunity of coming back to the self. He's saying, let me put it very quickly. If you look at this part, the child part, it is saying it's all inside, all inside. It's not too much outside. This is letting outside breaking in. Okay. And now you've succeeded, you've found a place in life. And now you're trying to go back to the inside. That's what he's talking about. Okay, so here I'm going to add, let me see, let me add about 4 or 5 things that he talks about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say. Okay, so firstly, it is experienced in a midlife crisis, that you basically achieved everything that you wanted to do. You still feel that there is no meaning in your life. Having achieved everything, you say there is no meaning. This is the time where many people kind of turn back to culture. This is the time you find that, something is missing. You have a feeling that, okay, I've achieved everything, but something is missing in me, inside me. What you're looking for is, but what is the meaning of all of it? So these are some of the things he talks about, of the nature of that. And here again, you can choose to regress. And he talks about the various ways of regressing. So you're trying to be go back. This is going to go towards these, all of these going back like that. Not a good shape, but will do. So here you are basically trying to do the same thing that you did in youth, but it has no longer any meaning for you, but you keep doing that. You can become rigid and you try to recapture your youth. What you're actually trying to recapture is the feeling that you had as a youth, but that time is gone. So that same thing is not going to give you the same feeling. All right. Now let's come to the final one. Let's come to the final one. You reduce the brightness here a little bit. Okay, that's not bad. Okay. Here, this one, I'm going to divide it into 3 things. So I'm going to put it in 3 branches. One going like this, one going like this, and one going like this. So he's saying towards the end of your life, there are 3 things that people focus on. Firstly, he makes the point that they are keepers of the culture. In traditional societies, they are keepers of the culture. This is the time where the wisdom is maximum. And then he talks about afterlife. Those are the 3 things he talks about towards the end of life. So again, I can divide this into, let's divide it into a few things. So here, some of the solutions that Jung talks about, and he develops that, he just barely touches on it here. He develops it quite a bit through rest of his work. So this is a way of integration. This is where you achieve integration, where you bring in, integrate the inside and the outside, integrate the conscious and the unconscious, rising to a new level of integration, new level of consciousness. Okay. Here in culture, that again, you can put it in various ways. You can say that these are the people who kind of preserve the culture, continue the culture. This is, again, the wisdom of the culture is all included in that. And the most interesting point here is that of afterlife. He's saying that you need direction. Towards the end of your life, you still need direction. And he talks about various religions providing it. Okay. So this is the entire tree. Now, I'll make some very quick comments on it. If you again come back, so now what we have done is that we have looked at this whole part here, which is the trunk, and we have also looked at this, which I think is the root. If you really look, if you take that breaking in and breaking out seriously, if you take that forms must follow function seriously, many of these problems just evaporate. Okay, it's a very, very large point. Now, I don't want to go through it myself in detail. I want to leave it out for people to think about, because the whole purpose of this presentation is to remind you of what was said, connected to a very large theme that we have done more than 50 meetups on. By the way, for people who were part of that, who were the panelists like Rupali and Maritza, for some reason, last 7 weeks, 1,000 people have been coming each day to watch Louis Sullivan videos. So I don't know why. I have not been able to track where they're coming from, but that's what has been happening. I wanted to make a few quick comments, connecting it to other thoughts. The biggest thing I have to say is the child. This depiction of child from birth to puberty, I don't think is true. I think consciousness develops in children much earlier than that. Montessori has deep things to say about this. We've looked at Piaget, who has amazing things to say about this. My favorite one is by Julian Jaynes. There is a gentleman called Bill Rowe who did just amazing lecture on development of consciousness in children on our meetup. I would recommend that. Joe, when you get a chance, can you search for Bill Rowe on 52 Living Ideas, ROWE? And if you could put that in the chat. Basically, the point is that the outside just does not come in when the child leaves the family. Mother is outside. And the outside doesn't always come as an unwelcome thing. It starts by being the most welcome thing. And the infant interacting with the mother, going back and forth. This is what Bill Rowe talks about. Initially as a rhythmic play, then pointing to a third object, and then slowly getting an idea of itself through interaction with the mother and other caretakers is how the consciousness builds. Then it is expanded with the use of language. A language is a crucial thing. Montessori system is all about developing the consciousness of the child aged 3 to 6. So there is a lot that goes on of the outside in and inside out in the child, as is compared to what has been said here. So that's the only point I want to make. There is all kinds of things that can be said about this, but my purpose here was to put these basic ideas on the table. Now, I would love to hear any comments about this presentation, or you can either do that, or you can pick up on any of the themes here and comment on it. So go ahead and type ! If you would like to comment on anything. Give me just a second. We'll start with Ebonique.
This helped me understand that chapter so much, because I was trying to express what I thought the chapter said. And I think the only part that I really kind of understood is middle age, and then maybe a little bit of older age, and then the afterlife. And this helped me understand youth. And I have to agree with you that I think kids are more in touch with their unconsciousness than we think they are. I think because they don't have any of those restraints put on them, especially when they're young, they can use their imagination, and they can tap into it and not even know that they're tapping into it. For them, this is just like play and exploration. So anything that they're learning that they're the true definition of the outside breaking in and then the inside breaking out. Now, sometimes that's done in not so pleasant ways for adults. Like maybe it's a temper tantrum because they don't know how to express themselves, or they don't know how to express what they want. But I think they're closer to the unconscious than we think they are. And I think they have the ability, because they're children, they have more of the ability or permission to explore that a little more. And then as they age, we kind of take that from kids a little bit. So yeah, so this helped a lot. So thank you.
Wonderful. Folks, if you would like to comment either on this or you can pick up any theme that the chapter talks about and talk about it. Joe.
Yeah, I think that this is a very, very deep chapter in general. There's a lot to be said about it. So let me just start with the child aspect of it. And I'm in full agreement as well with you. And obviously Rupali can speak to this much more eloquently than I could, dealing with children all the time. But the quote that actually stuck out to me is that the complex psyche of the child is, of course, a problem of the first magnitude of the parents, educators, and physicians. And left to their own devices, that children essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, left to their own devices, children don't have any problems of their own. And so it's interesting to see how the people around the children impact what is possible.